Well, you know, you're going to go stab a family member over 30 times for money when she refused to give you money. You got to be punished for that.
Donzel Hogan was recently convicted of manslaughter for stabbing his 91-year-old aunt to death when he was 14. And Bossier and Webster Parish District Attorney Skylar Marvin says he was charged as an adult.
Can I talk about how you were led to that decision to charge him as an adult?
It's always the nature of the crime. She sustained 33 stab wounds, separate stab wounds, according to the coroner. So that factored obviously heavily in my mind as to I want to try this kid as an adult.
Marvin says according to Louisiana state law, only teens 14 and up can be transferred to adult court. When they are 14, they have to have a special hearing to be transferred. And when they are 15 and older, it is up to the district attorney to charge them as an adult. State law also says teens can only be transferred to adult court for certain crimes, including first or second degree murder, manslaughter, aggravated rape, and armed robbery.
Those are the only ones that we can even look at, but even those, you got to just take a hard look at them and say, what brought us to this point? What happened in this kid's life?
To be transferred to adult court, the district attorney has to prove the teenager is incapable of being rehabilitated.
Meaning he's already had a bite at the apple or been through the juvenile system and it didn't work.
And this is where part of that rehabilitation takes place, at the Caddo Parish Juvenile Detention Center, where the staff here says they work tirelessly to help change the teens that come in for the better.
It kind of tugs on your heart from time to time or what have you, but I mean, it is what it is. They commit crimes, and we make sure they understand that there are always consequences for those negative choices.
Donna Woods is the detention manager at the Caddo Juvenile Center. She says she's been there for 20 years, and they work hard to find what teens are interested in hopes of changing their behavior.
You have a kid that want to be an auto mechanic. We reach out into the community and see if we can find an auto mechanic that will come in and spend some time and talk with those kids. We try to find out what they're interested in and tell them the path.
And she says they treat the teens the same, regardless of what crime they've committed.
We're consistent in our programming. We're consistent in how we communicate with them and how we talk to them. Again, this is a life, and they are really still trying to understand. They're still developing, and they're really trying to understand exactly how this process goes, what actually happened.
They also have a mental health counselor to make sure the teens understand what's going on.
And that mental health counselor will ask those questions. What is it about what's going on with you that you do not understand? That if I can't explain, I'll get someone else to come and explain to you.
There's a lot of fear, I think, and that can make it hard too to kind of help them understand what they're dealing with because they're just so scared.
Heather Courtney is a Caddo Parish public defender in the juvenile division. She says the question her clients ask the most is when they can go home.
That can be very difficult because I don't think an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, even in some cases 16-year-olds don't necessarily realize that children can be held in a facility, held for that long.
In juvenile court, a teen can only be sentenced up until their 21st birthday. But if they are transferred to adult court, they can be held until their 31st birthday. And those who commit crimes under 13 can only be held until their 18th birthday. Courtney says it's unusual for an 11 or 12-year-old to be charged with a serious crime.
You're not expecting something like that. So it can be very hard for everybody involved to kind of wrap their brain around that and try to help that child get to the best place for them.
But it does happen, like to Pamela Rochester, who was robbed at gunpoint by an 11-year-old.
At 11 years old, oh my God, a child robbed me. I'll never forget that.
Wood says at that young age, a child probably doesn't understand what they're doing.
And usually in that case, it's going to be someone older who has talked to that kid and said some things and talked them into doing what they're doing. And so basically you got to get to that point and just say, basically you were informed incorrectly. And just actually tell them what actually happened, what could have possibly happened.
One thing everyone seems to agree on is that parental supervision and more social events like sports and other after-school activities go a long way in keeping kids out of trouble. Reporting, Eric Pointer, KSLA News 12.